which flew out this morning. And Ward Manuel, the Michigan athletic director, just told Mark Snyder, and he tweeted this out, because they have not arrived at the Verizon Center yet in Washington, D.C. Ward Manuel said he will talk to Beeline and the Big Ten once they get here and assess whether UM can play at noon as scheduled. Not here yet. So maybe they'll delay the tip-off of that game, push everything back a little bit to accommodate what happened with the Michigan team. Do you think, and I think about, I don't consider what we went through last night a harrowing experience. I don't consider it, I think it was a bouncy landing, okay? And yet I think what they went through was a lot more harrowing than what we went through. Do you think it impacts them?
I wouldn't think so, because it happened yesterday, and I would imagine they're kind of over it. They're young guys, and they're over it. They're there. They're, what's probably bothering them now is the traffic of getting to the stadium to play basketball. But I wouldn't imagine it would bother them too much.
I think it could. I guess I think Michigan fans should be very grateful it doesn't appear that Michigan needs this win to get in, because I think it could. I don't know. Like, I'm a better flyer. Here's the thing. I'm a better flyer at my age than I was at that age. That was a train wreck on planes way back then.
Were you?
Oh, I was very frightened.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know. So, because they're young, I don't know if that means they bounce back.
Did that solo flight to Australia, did that change things, though, for the better?
I've only turned into a decent flyer in recent years.
So you were a wreck for like 21 hours.
There were some times where I was bad, yeah.
Hey, by the way, we are live on Facebook right now. So if you follow 97.1 The Ticket on Facebook, you can watch this extravaganza going on.
248-539-9797. Let's get to your open line calls. Elliot in Farmington. Hi, Elliot.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Commercial pilot, safety instructor for 40 years. So let me give you a little bit of background. We certainly don't have a lot of facts in the Willow Run incident, but from your perspective on the Detroit arrival yesterday, Metro is pretty good. When the winds are strong out of the west, they have to drop down to the east-west runway, and that really is why the backup occurred and why you were holding and so many planes were delayed. Strong winds on the ground will give you turbulence. As far as the tailwind, it's not certain where you were at, but the winds on the ground can be a little different from in the air. But I don't consider yesterday's condition terribly unsafe because the winds were straight out of the west and coming down that east-west runway. So that probably was not a terribly unsafe condition. However, in Ypsilanti, where my son was on the airplane, that was a little bit of a harrowing experience. We got a call from him shortly after the event, and they were all safe. They were a little rattled, and they spent about 3 hours at the airport before they could be bused back to Ann Arbor.
Your son was on that plane?
Yeah, he's in the band, and the band, the cheerleaders, and the basketball players were on the plane, and they went out this morning, and they're in D.C. now.
What?
But, go ahead.
Well, given your line of work, I'm sure you had a ton of questions for him about what happened.
Yeah, and again, a passenger's view is not the same as sitting up front.
That's fair.
And clearly, they were in a aircraft. And somebody mentioned about the age of aircraft. As long as the aircraft is maintained, generally they have an unlimited life. These airplanes can go for a long time, so it's not unusual to see airplanes flying for a long time as long as they're well maintained. A couple of obvious things. The airplane overran the runway. The question is, when did the pilot make the decision to abort? What was the reason for the abort? He stopped the airplane within 1,000 feet of exiting the airport perimeter. There was no post-crash fire, which is really good. Post-crash fire really ranges up a number of fatalities that you can get. So he did at least he stopped the airplane. There's a momentary period when you hit a certain speed on takeoff that you make a decision to go, not to stop. And voice recorders, the flight data recorders, and the accident investigation will help determine why that pilot made the decision to stop as opposed to go. Those transport category airplanes are certified to go even on an engine fire. You get up, you get the airplane cleaned up, you turn around, you come back, declare an emergency, and land. So there's some questions to be asked. We don't know the facts at this point, so it's unclear truly what happened.
All right. Well, hey, we appreciate the insight, Elliot, and I'm certainly glad your son and everybody's okay.
Yeah, they were rattled, and they were up early this morning to get on an airplane, but they're looking forward to the game. I sure hope they postpone it to give everybody a chance to breathe a little bit and, just get their head squared away.
Well, I would delay it, not postpone it. But it depending on what time they get in there. I think this is, this is something that it is a harrowing experience to go through what they went through. But players and teams go through stuff like this all the time, whether it's a plane or if it's a death in the family or a death of a teammate or a fellow student or somebody that was close to the team. Everyone's got some kind of baggage they bring into it, and they still go on and play basketball.
Yeah,
With this is just a situation of getting in time enough to have a full warm-up and prepare yourself for the basketball.
Right, they could be more relaxed. Who knows how it's going to impact them? They could be like, the tension of March might be gone because it pales in comparison to what they went through.
Right.
Who
Or
knows?
it could be a basket case.
248-539-9797.
Nobody wants to see that.
I was on a plane that aborted a landing when we were going a couple of years ago to Mexico.
Ooh.
We were, you could see the runway, and I'm waiting for the bang when you hit the ground, and all of a sudden the engines rev up and we take right back off, and I'm like, okay, that was a little strange. And I was a little nervous, but we just circled around and landed again.
I was on a plane that it was about as close to I guess an aborted takeoff. We picked up speed, ready to go, and then heard this loud bang noise, and it was one of the engines blowing, and then the slam of the brakes, and we had to be towed back to the terminal, and the pilot told us, sorry, we have a little delay. We're going to have to deplane. And next thing we know, we flew out 13 or 14 hours later. And they told us that we wanted you to see your grandchildren. That's why we decided not to take off.
Thanks, bro.
Well, all right.
Let's go to Mike in Novi. Hi, Mike.
Man, that I wish that guy was still on the line that just called. We have a friend who works at the airport, and he was there, went out, was part of the response, and he said the pilot was beginning the rotate up. So they were in the air, and he was beginning to rotate up to climb when he said something happened and I needed to abort, and they put it down. So it wasn't, they were in the air.
See, I'd heard they weren't.
Yeah, I don't know, right? So, this
Right.
guy has no reason to lie to me. But when he told me that, because I've used to fly 40 weeks out of the year and had just about every single thing happen possible in an airplane, but not that. That's freaky.
Yeah, really, really scary. I
just wish that guy could come back on and say if that's what where the point of no return is, because the pilot said he was beginning to rotate up when he said we got to go down now.
Well, maybe that guy can call back and let us know what his son experienced, because I had heard they hadn't left the ground, but and as he said, the experience for the passenger is different from the experience of the pilot. I think a passenger would know if they were off the ground, right?
I guess. I'm just glad I was on the ground in Novi.
248-539-9797, 1050. Do we like or not like what the Lions did yesterday? It's Karsch and Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket.